beneficial do you think the bye week has been for everybody coming back in here today? What's been kind of the feeling amongst the team?
Yeah, I think we've had our fair share of injuries this year, so I think the biggest thing is just trying to get guys healthy. Even the guys that are playing are always dealing with something. So I think overall, getting back to full health, and I think after playing 13 straight weeks, mentally it's nice to be able to get a little break. And I felt like the vibes coming into the locker room was really positive. We have a guaranteed 4 more games, and so I think everyone's here committed to give it everything we have for the next 4.
It's kind of a new situation for this team. I mean, do you feel like you have to monitor things like buy-in and energy level and confidence as a leader and make sure those things remain?
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all professionals, so I think the expectation from week to week doesn't change. Again, as you mentioned, this is my 6th year, and this is uncharted territories the last few years. But look, I think it's an opportunity for the guys that have been around here to step up, make sure you have the right mindset, mentality moving forward, and making sure that we kind of set the standard as far as where the energy, commitment, all of that is.
Have you? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Have you replayed last week's game over and over, or have you thought about it much?
I gave myself a day. I watched the film Wednesday, and I gave myself, Wednesday to think about the game and, what are things that, personally I could have done better and as a team and everything else. And then after that, it's kind of what we talked about before. I think this is an opportunity to get your body right, but also your mind right too, to take a break. And after that, I tried to just spend some time with the family and, get ready to make this run late.
Taysom, have you been able to pinpoint any frustrations with this offense or what you guys need to fix about the offense? It feels like every third week you guys kind of explode and then have a couple of games where.
Yeah, look, it's hard to say because, you can point to a lot of fingers of what we're doing offensively, but I think, we're playing good football teams, and certainly Tampa's a team that has played us well historically. They're a good defense, and so, I'm not out chasing ghosts, and I think at a certain point, you got to give them credit. I think what has hurt us this year is the unforced errors, penalties, turnovers, various things like that, where those are things that, as you look inwardly, that was not something that the other team did. That was something that we did, and I think that's where things become challenging for us offensively.
I think you guys got like the latest buy that you can get. From a player's perspective, do you like a buy so late in the season, or is there a more ideal time to have it?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably middle of the year is probably more ideal. Going 13 weeks is challenging. We went to London and back and played 3 preseason games, and so to have, by week, what was it, week 14? Is that what we said? It's probably not ideal, but look, that's out of our control, and so we'll make the most of it.
Taysom, you've seen this offense from many different angles. When you guys are using motion effectively, how does that kind of open things up and help just produce positive plays?
Yeah, I mean, I think so much goes into that question. We're not just motioning or shifting just because, right? I think schematically there's a reason for everything we do, and so if we feel like we gain an advantage or the front tops or it changes responsibility defensively, then we do it. So I don't know how to appropriately answer that question because I think so much of that is week to week. But look, our staff upstairs is one of the best in the NFL, and so when you see something done, it's for a specific reason. And if we don't need it, we don't do it. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I mean, do you think some other teams it's maybe like window dressing, whereas with you guys it's more deliberate because the Chiefs use it like 300 times a year. Your guys' numbers are kind of low.
It's hard to say, right? Like my experience has been here, and so I really am not sure.
The fake injury news, did that hit you out of the blue when you heard about that?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. I'd had a conversation with Cam on the plane ride home, and I know that he was dealing with some pain and he had an injury. So when I saw it, I was very surprised. So I know that he's had an MRI and they'll send the images, I guess, to the league office and go from there.
The concept of establishing the run has always been sort of a chicken versus the egg thing. Like, so when you get in these games, like San Francisco and Tampa, where they're stopping the run early and seems to shrink the playbook. I mean, did those get really frustrating? You kind of like we always talk to running backs, like, the more runs you get, the more rhythm you can find and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, so much goes into being able to establish a run game. Time of possession and plays, and if you're running the ball efficiently, first and second down, your third downs become manageable, and so I think that is an important element. So I don't know that it becomes frustrating, right? Because again, like that's a you brought up the Niners, and that's a good defense, right? That's a hard defense to run the ball against, and so I think at that point you've got to start to give credit to them, tip your hat to them, and say, hey, they make it challenging to do this, and maybe start throwing the ball a little bit more on first and second down. And again, it's just one of those things, like what do we do really well versus what does that team do really well? And so I don't think it becomes a point of frustration for me personally, other than this is the NFL and you're playing good teams, and at that point you got to get creative, how to move the ball up and down the field.